my lovely coworkers here from Spacestation Gaming who are going to talk on their experiences of running an esports team and getting it to be a globally recognized brand. So let's start off. Just do a round of introductions: who you are, what you do at Spacestation Gaming. Start with Pookie.
What's up, everyone? Name is Parker. Like Liam said, gamer tag Pookie. A lot of people call me that as well. I am a creative director at Space Station Gaming, and I guess what that really boils down to for me is just making sure the brand stays likable and approachable and like a certain tone and a voice that we want to carry, which is very similar to if you think like a skateboarding brand. We kind of carry a similar vibe to us, so I kind of make sure we try to stay on that path, and that's what I do.
My next?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm Tyler. I am the marketing director. That's at least what I'm called on LinkedIn, but I'm more of like project manager. Get to be involved with quite a few things from merchandising and that design process and some of the concepting and marketing stuff, or all the way to like looking into running events and helping out navigate working with Halo and like doing stuff like our Halo event and getting to kind of run in a bunch of different directions, but ultimately just making SSG move forward and do some cool stuff to make the brand endearing to our audience and stuff. So that's me.
Sweet. I'm Jack or Coochie. Just be my last name, not too fancy, but yeah, I'm our GM, so I handle everything team-wide, content creators, so managing teams on a day-to-day basis, in a hotel now at the Atlanta Major for Rainbow Six, and then any new games that we're looking to get into, and then just general help across like the company in like every regard here and there. But yeah.
Cool. And I'll be serving as a moderator, but I'm Liam, and I'm a project manager for Airlock, which is a sub team of Space Station Gaming. We handle a lot of like white label broadcasts and events. So I also help out with any events that like Space Station Gaming are hosting, like the HCS major that we hosted, or not HCS major, but HCS Global Invitational that we hosted earlier this year in Salt Lake City. So I get to help out with cool things like that. But I'll just be serving as a moderator today. So you guys kind of touched on what you guys already did or you do actively for SSG. Jack, maybe do you want to give an overview of what SSG is and what the goal of SSG as a brand is?
Sure. So yeah, the kind of big overarching thing of Space Station Gaming is like obviously like we're pretty focused on the esports side of things, but like it originally started with who we have here, Pookie and John Duras, the founder, and Chicken, who's in here today. But yeah, they all just kind of started from Sean coming from YouTube and really just being focused on his message just forever since the start of time is just focusing on community and just being kind of like a person to the fans and stuff and kind of just trying to make those like real connections with people. I think it's like what we do insanely well at Atlanta events and continue to try and do on just like an everyday basis, and learn, and kind of like that's the reason like we focus a lot on that is because like when it comes to like the team side of things, like there really is only so much you can control, and like the talk of the town at the moment is just like the VC money. So it's like other orgs have multi-millions of dollars that they're spending on teams, and that's just not something that we should be doing or want to do at all, and don't need to at the moment. And so I'd say like that's pretty much the big overarching thing is really just focused on the community and like our messaging and delivering good products from having the highest quality of merch, but also making it affordable for fans and kind of just having a lot of like touch points with our entire community. And so that's indeed like our overarching big focus, and then obviously like continue to try and be as competitive as we can in like all of our games.
And Pookie, he did mention you were here since the beginning. I don't know if there's anything you want to add in.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna ride the back of Jack here. Our path to success at SSG is not the same as TSM or 100 Thieves or FaZe. Like we just are coming from a different position of more like think of like Moneyball, Oakland A's almost kind of strategy. Like we really have to be picky and choosy with kind of what we invest our time with and where our money and like success comes from. Like we just don't have the resources that a lot of these huge orgs have. So kind of what Jack was saying is like we really have to win on focusing on community and making the most out of like whatever opportunities that we have. Like if you look at our rosters, like we're not in any tier 1 games like League of Legends or Call of Duty. Like we're like in this little kind of minor league ballpark, but we're swinging way up above like our playing field because of the way we approach building our communities and building relationships, and like Jack said, giving good merch deals and like just like doing what's best by the fan is how we win. And so that's kind of where we found our bread and butter and how we can succeed. So not every org has to do that. Other orgs have different paths to success, but that's kind of where we've settled and kind of I think how we kind of operate. That's kind of the lane that we're in. So yeah.
Cool. And last thing before we dive into some more specific questions, I know that we just had a roster announcement today, Jack, but if you want to talk about what kind of teams we currently support.
Yeah, so we just announced PUBG today. Kind of that being more of a longer play, kind of seeing, what that looks like in regards to, what the future of PUBG looks like. That's just not a very like expensive game at the moment for us, and so that's kind of like the thought process there. Or just like potential opportunity that comes next year or even way beyond that. And then we currently support Rainbow Six. We've got Halo, which is for sure probably like our flagship game at the moment in regards to like our brand. And then Rocket League as well. And so we've been in Rocket League since 2018. Same thing goes for Rainbow Six. And so those games have been pretty big staples, a part of like the history of Spacestation Gaming. Obviously, Rainbow Six at the World Championship in 2020. I think that was like our kind of like big step in regards to like putting Spacestation Gaming on like the map of like esports orgs, and like that really helped gain like a lot of respect and gave us a ton of opportunity. But yeah, the reason we kind of chose each of those games is because in their respective games we've got a lot of different opportunities within them, whether it's like the bare minimum of like Rocket League, for instance, where we have skins and it's a very kind of family friendly game, which is nice and very easy to understand. There's just like a lot of future there with the game. Rainbow Six is good in regards to having skins as well. That kind of just helps offset the cost of the team, and then also just opportunities with like Jinxie. Like that's been a huge play for us, in tying him and Rainbow Six together for us, and then just continue to build on that. Merchandise licensing is another opportunity that we've got from Rainbow Six, and then getting into Halo. Like this is the reason that's kind of like our flagship brand, is because like working with a developer like 343 and Microsoft, where they're not trying to nickel and dime all the time, or like are kind of open to working with organizations and have a lot more opportunities. We hosted a minor this past year. We've got huge opportunities next year, which will be sweet. And then obviously skins in that game to help offset costs there. And there's like kind of the top of the food chain when it comes to working developers, and those opportunities, as Pookie said, like we would just try and capitalize as best as we can. And I think Halo's been a great example, from starting out from Snowdown to hosting a minor to what's to come next year and whatnot.
We've already kind of talked about this quite a bit, but if there was like one specific strategy, and it's quite open to anyone, if there's one specific strategy you think that SSG used to kind of find success, we talked about SSG not having as much resources and having to find creative ways to build a community and build a brand. Is there one kind of strategy or thing that SSG did in order to build their brand when you might not have had those resources?
I would say that something that we've been able to identify that set us apart and offered us more opportunities is just doing the easy, small things that are optional. That, I mean, a lot of other esports organizations, I think, do exactly what they're required to by their sponsor partners and by like their esports partners for developers and different leagues that they're in. But we've always tried to, like, I think Pookie and Jack will touch on, like, take every kind of small opportunity or beginning of an opportunity and do as much within that opportunity as possible to maximize the opportunity. So when we were offered the opportunity to do the Halo Global Invitational here in Salt Lake, it wasn't because we were just one of the partner teams. It was because we had tried to do as much within the Halo community in terms of online events, in terms of just extra kind of shout outs to the community, whether it's through our content or the merchandise that we make, the content creators that we work with, or just kind of a mixture of all that stuff. We had kind of set ourselves apart within Halo as the ones that are giving it the attention that it deserves. And so when we got the opportunity to do that event, we wanted to make that feel as much of like a unique representation of who SSG is. So we, whatever opportunity we do have, we're making the most of it. And so, and that kind of is from floor to ceiling on what we do as SSG. Like, if it's a opportunity to work with people in person at events, having those free giveaway things, the opportunity to interact with us as a staff, with our players. We try to like remove as many like kind of barriers between us and being fans of SSG and stuff like that. So ultimately, it's just doing all the little tiny detail things that I think a lot of other bigger companies are preoccupied with bigger fish to like be able to carve out time to make room for. So I think that's kind of our calling card and what we try to do moving forward for sure.
Anyone else have anything to tack onto that? Cool.
Nope.
And I know a lot of, especially people who are fans of esports, know there's so many organizations that pop up and die. Like there's so many that don't even get to see that light of day, even when people are putting in, a lot of work into these things. And I guess the big question is, how does SSG find itself overcoming a lot of these challenges, being underserved in terms of resources and what you guys have available to your utilization? How do you overcome those challenges and continue to build a brand?
First off, I think we are very fortunate to have a founder who views SSG as an opportunity to just kind of be a cool extension to his own personal businesses and his brand. So like it's just like a really cool passion project for him. And so like he's able to bootstrap a lot of or all of the remaining just like burn every month that we don't cover through our skin cells and everything like that. And then second of all, like Jack said on already and I kind of talked on earlier, is we really are just super strategic of which streamers we sign, what talent we sign, what games we're in. Like it's very rare. Like it's super hard to win a championship anyway. Like think of the Utah Jazz. They've literally never done it. They've been really close and like they still have a very loyal fan base and stuff like that. So it's like similar to that, we have to find other ways to win and build an audience and stuff. So we just we just make the most of with what opportunities that we can afford. So yeah, I think that's just how we kind of overcome those challenges is we just really have like a genuine approach to the communities we're in and we build a relationship with the communities that we're in versus like just trying to be the best esports team possible, and that's all we care about.
We're also kind of built different as a company from what other orgs do. Not like just the culture or whatever, but like actually like the way that we're structured. We're a lot smaller and scrappier of a team. Like what would normally be like 2 or 3 jobs, that's what Jack has to do on the team side. He doesn't have a lot of. Sorry, one sec. We're by the military base. I don't know if you guys hear jets, but so yeah, we're pretty scrappy. We wear a lot of hats and have a lot of different roles that we have to fulfill with a smaller team. But we also have like given ourselves a little bit of padding by having something like Airlock, which is Liam and Sam and Brendan on that side doing things that have a direct like way to bring in revenue for us and offset that cost to do the razzle dazzle stuff that doesn't make us any money. So yeah, that's kind of like we have a smaller team, scrappier team, so we're less expensive to keep operating, but we also have a couple other things that are big potential for offsetting a lot of that cost in terms of like our team partnerships and the airlock and everything like that, and merchandise when it's going well. So
Cool. And then maybe Jack, if you want to talk about decision making and challenges on the team end. I mean, building a brand is one thing, but also maintaining, the image of your teams and performance is another.
Like in regards to the financial stuff that you're saying, or like in regards to
Maybe not even financial, but when you're scouting potential teams to sign, when you're managing conflict within a team, how does SSG over
oh
the
yeah.
years approach their teams in order to find success on the esports specific end?
Yeah, esports performance has been indeed like a huge focus of mine that I'm putting a ton of time into. I think that there's a kind of a gap in regards to like how other orgs, and that's the thing, I try not to even like look at other orgs as much, like just to give like a comparison or understanding of it, is like a lot tend to kind of just go with like building the super teams and stuff, and that's where like the money thing kind of comes into. So like we're not just gonna go out and just pay the highest salaries just cause, just to like try and get the top tier players at the time, or like the quote unquote superstars. It's like trying to take like a approach to developing talent, which is a big thing at the moment, finding the right coaches and stuff that we can work with and kind of lead a proper culture within each of the teams. I think that's been like the biggest thing over the past years, is just trying to find kind of those leaders that aren't like the per se stars, from the very start of when, bringing a player like Fultz on as like a rookie, or even Arsenal on, and like, those players are, maybe more known now, and at the time they were rookies, or even like, recently of like the Hawksters or the Sad Juniors, where I think Sad Junior is probably one of the best coaches in Rock League, if not the best. And like, he was just a pretty established player and hasn't had like that opportunity as a proper coach with the proper team. Same thing with Hawkster. Like, he's just been through like the ringer in regards to his career. He's like on the older side, and so like, yeah, I think that's kind of like been a big strategy of ours, is like we've just haven't really gone for like the top talent. Have just been trying to find like players that work well together, or are willing to learn, and are coachable, and like developing them. And that's kind of been the plan, and will continue to probably be the plan for the future. It just ends up being better because you can have the superstars in each of their roles. Player 1, player 2, player 3 are like the best in their role, but if they're don't have that chemistry together, or aren't able to mesh well, or all the time kind of top to bottom, I think that's where like you find the success, is like it might not be like the best individual players per se in their role, but it's kind of like the best team overall. Like, and that's the kind of big key point, is just like working together as a team. I think that's like a big thing that NA is like a region across all games fails to understand. Slowly it seems to be changing, but I think that's why, like, when you look at games like Counter-Strike or Dota, or Overwatch, like a lot of other regions have like that mentality of like kind of team above self is kind of what we live by. You're playing for the logo on the front, not the name on the back, and I think that's like kind of the easy way to like wrap up like how we kind of structure our culture within our teams, and like how we find success.
And on that same topic of teams, is a question from the Ken Garf community. What are you looking for in players when you're scouting potential players?
In regards to scouting potential players, personally how I do it. I don't know how others do it. But like when I'm personally am looking at players, it's like, from talking to players that we have currently, like, yeah, I guess it's like two things. So like if it's a game that we already have versus, getting into a new game, right? So like when I look at players, in a game that we have, whether it's a roster move, whether it's, players retiring, et cetera, like, a big thing there is like, talking to the current coach, seeing what their thoughts are, getting kind of lists together of like, potential talent, talking to players, having their opinions on people, maybe there's, players that they're playing against and like, big thing in like CSGO is like FPL, or like Rainbow Six that had FPL in the past, or like 8-mans and like Halo, which is just like, guys get together, put some money in. So, kind of getting their opinions on stuff. Obviously, some of that can be skewed between like personalities and whatnot. And then, obviously a big one is watching VOD. So, watching if there is an option to watch VOD of like players in previous tournaments, understanding like how consistent they are tends to be a big factor in regards to, players is their consistency, kind of understanding like what their floor is. And so kind of like leading off from consistency, like, getting into a new game and stuff is like, trying to find like those, if we're getting into a new game, it's like trying to find a, good coach that we can kind of start with. And same thing goes for like, starting off of like one or two good players that can kind of be like, whether they're, rookies or like veterans that are leaders, tends to be like a big one that can like help, lead the strategy of the team in a way. So that way you can like help develop leaders or help develop new talent around that like veteran player. And so, yeah, I think that's like a big thing I'd say. So like, yeah, just to wrap up all of that is just like, going through VOD, understanding it, talking to people within the scene, talking to the players that we have already, talking to the coaches we have already, talking to people outside of it, and kind of just like combining everything and making a decision based off of like everyone's feedback rather than just like, I think what people assume most look at, or maybe they do, is like looking at stats and stuff, and stats really don't matter. It's just trying to find like those team players. But yeah.
Cool. And maybe to piggyback off this, if Pookie or Tyler, you want to answer at this end, from a like brand perspective, I know that maybe you guys aren't as involved in the decision making progress, but for anyone in the Kengarf community that's trying to look to go semi-pro or pro, what are some things that they can do from their brand perspective to make them more attractive to an esports team?
Yeah, I mean, we always feel like we're super lucky when players get signed that have something that we can leverage for content, whether like just like their personality. Like Arsenal is such a amazing person for content in terms of pro players. Um, I don't know if there's really anything you can really recommend besides like have have that ability, but I mean just cultivate the ability to speak in front of people, talk publicly. That's really cool. Aside from just being a great player, just yeah, be a great person. I think it's a very big benefit to people like Pookie that have to post content daily on socials about the teams when you've got the ability to shine a light on some of the personality traits that people have. But yeah, Jack and primarily Jack, but everyone that's involved on the team side is really good at looking at the greater picture. Like, yes, we have one of the top players or one of the top teams in this esport, but we also have this opportunity to do this kind of content with them and all that kind of other fun stuff as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Just piggybacking off of Tyler, like we have a certain style of content that we go for versus other brands that they kind of go for. It's just I don't know, just being comfortable with whatever the brand is going for and just like trusting that the content team has a vision, I guess. But I don't know. You're there to be a competitor and like a champion, and like that's what should be most important. Like first and foremost, a good content team should find ways to use your personality and comfort level to make content and a story around that. But yeah, just being willing to work with them is also a cool benefit.
Being easy to work with on the player side is like a huge thing. Like it seems like prompt and responsive when you're trying to communicate people that you work with. It makes it so much easier to do bigger projects when there's that kind of common understanding. Most of our players have been that way, but in the past, like early days, I mean, everything was so chill as an environment, the way that we work, that I think a lot of the players got that chill vibe too. So where if we needed sponsor posts or things that we have to do by just to function as an esports org, if it takes a lot of time, then it makes it like that order of difficulty more annoying. So yeah, just be responsive, prompt, on time, and cool to work with.
Cool. I think we've talked a good chunk about players. Maybe we'll go around to each of you for this one. What's your favorite part of being involved with SSG and running an esports team?
I can jump in first real quick. By nature of what I do and by working at a small esports org, my day-to-day kind of work experience is different almost every day, whether it's jumping in and helping with a piece of content to sitting down and brainstorming how we're going to approach like upcoming events or the direction of SSG as a company and different conversations that way, like where we want to put our focus. There's nothing too repetitive besides having to check emails, but I think that's every job that you have and just being an adult. So I don't think I'll get away from it. But just being able to have that variance in what I do every day is probably my favorite thing. And honestly, you get to work with like 90% of the close friends that I have in life are SSG employees right now. So good times.
For me, how do I explain this? SSG's age demographic is like kind of that teenager to 24-year-old age, and I think when I was that age, I was skateboarding a lot, and that's kind of the culture I was like this little skate park rat kid that played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Halo 3, and just like was just kind of this just like punk little kid. And SSG has allowed me to build a brand that very much like represents that culture and kind of tags along with that. So really, it's something that like I was super passionate about as a kid. Just kind of that culture and that feeling of community and like kind of a little bit of rowdiness and like disruptiveness. And SSG has provided me the same just kind of platform to build a brand similar to that. So I think that's really what it is like I'm doing something that like I was passionate about growing up and like building something in a similar manner. So that doesn't have to be skateboarding for you. That can be music, or it can be the NBA that you like a team that you really like how they do their stuff and their style of branding and stuff. But it's like find an opportunity that like you can build something that's similar to what you're just passionate about already, and like it's just so much more enjoyable than just finding a design job. Like find a design job at a company that like designs the way you like to design. Like that's what I would say is like my favorite part is I found something that like lets me build the way that I like to build and do things the way I like to do things, which is very hard. I'm not saying that's easy, but like I'm just been fortunate enough to get that opportunity if you can get it.
Yeah, I think Pookie and Tyler really hit it nail on the head of like, from literally like the environment that we have, the people that are there. Like, I guess what makes the company obviously makes like the company just so amazing is just like the people that we have in every position of like, love working with every single person. And I think it's like a huge thing. I think like, as Pookie said, in regards to like the freedom, like the ability to like learn, the ability to control what we want to do, and like shape it how we want to shape it and just make it like kind of like lack of a better term, like just cool or dope or and so like I think that's like a huge part of why we kind of all love living here or working here, basically living here. But yeah, and I think like that's a huge thing for me, like personally, is like just the ability to like learn and grow here. I'm being brought on as like a GM at like, working alongside Unit in 2020 as a, 18-year-old. And then, now I'm 22, running things, and like, there's just no way. I don't think I'd have like an opportunity anywhere else like this. And so, over the years, it's just been super amazing. And then, Sean's vision for everything, like I can totally just understand and see like where he's coming from or where he wants to go. And so, like, I just think that's like a huge thing for like the kind of vision alignment is like, just like most of us, or if not all of us, like just all like agree and like love to do this, and so everyone just does what they got to do, even if it's like a little out of the, as Tyler said in the past, like all of us are wearing 2 or 3 hats, but like everyone just loves what they do in all their roles. It's just fun every single day, and and just to wrap it up is like every single day is like new, from I'm buying Ethernet cords to fix internet issue to mop it up sewage on the floor. So every day is insane. Be right back.
We make Jack clean up the toilets. No, there was a plumbing issue at the team house the other day. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. If you wanted to say something, go for it.
Oh, no, we're good.
Cool. This is the last question I have before we'll open it up to anyone in the audience for questions. Especially with a lot of people in the industry calling it, like an esports winter right now. What is your biggest piece of advice for people who are either looking to start their own team or get involved with a team, whether it be a player or, a project manager? What would be your advice to kind of get involved and survive in esports winter?
I'll give a hot take to start out with. I don't think that it's necessarily like an esports winter because there's a lack of interest in esports or a lack of potential for the future of esports. I think it was just teams or esports orgs kind of scaled beyond what the market can sustain right now. So everyone got too big and too expensive to run and got kind of caught out where they needed to kind of change it up. I think there's a million ways to jump into esports right now that don't require waiting out in esports winter. I think a lot of the best people that we've ever hired have already been doing their own thing within esports. It doesn't like you have to attach to a big company or anything like that, but do your own community tournaments. Like just try to organize something, be involved in the community. Volunteer, do as much of that kind of stuff as you can, and you can kind of get ahead of the game instead of feeling like it's just not a good industry to be looking at right now. Like I think the industry is just in flux right now. The way that teams make money and justify existing is kind of in flux right now and changing. But I think it's going to be a very short amount of time before that's kind of figured out and people are back to really ramping up scaling in a big way. But that doesn't mean that there's not a bunch of interest in like community-sided stuff that can happen right now just by putting forth a little effort. Like I think Liam, Sam, Brendan, everyone involved in Airlock is a good example of that. Like it doesn't take a ton of budget to be able to do some cool stuff that makes an impact. So
Yeah, I think for me, let's see, what advice would I give? Like Tyler said, I think esports is just showing that you can't succeed just solely based on having championship teams or like just hoping that you're gonna win a championship and be the most popular team. Like the market isn't big enough to just like survive off skin sales or whatever. So you have to find other ways to win. So for me, what I would do, since I work in the content side of things, it's like when we bring someone on, it's someone that can like provide a value or like a way for us to help further grow in a direction that we want to grow. So a lot of the times that's just content based, just based on what I do. So it's just like be involved in the communities of the games that wherever you want to work, like or the orgs that you want to work with are involved in. get to know the people. Like for the most part, every content person I know is just very approachable. As long as you just are a normal human and just talk to them, then like people are pretty cool and like willing to talk. Network and just like try and find ways to provide value without coming across like weird or pushy. I don't that's very easier said than done, but a lot of esports unfortunately is like just kind of like who you know and like how you work well with others. And it's not like none of us are super professionals. Like we're all just like compared to Hollywood, like the content team I work with, like we would stand no chance and we would like get slaughtered on the field. So it's like a lot of it is like just like being willing to work hard and like try and do things and like grow and be teachable. So it's like we all know we're not the best in the world. So it's just like you got to be able to be willing to work and kind of change your ideation and how you approach stuff. And I don't know. That's how I think you can get your foot in the door, though, if you're really trying to start from nowhere and don't have connections anywhere.
Cool. Anything to add there, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me as of recent, I think like even just like realizations and stuff, and even in the past, like even not knowing it exactly is like, yeah, as Spooky said, I think it's just being a genuine person. I think that's just such a huge thing within esports at the moment. It's just like be a good person, like do the right thing type thing. Like it's a lot of just like cliche stuff, but like it really is like that meaningful. I'd say at least like personally how I like look at people, that type of thing. For my own personal path in the past, like what I did was I ran, you know, events and ran like a league throughout Apex Legends, and kind of how I got my start there was, I was posting, analytical work because I wanted to do analysis for Apex and, do coaching and stuff there. And so like I would just, try to within that community involve myself in every aspect from, running the league to, every time there's a major event going on, throwing up. In Apex, there's like obviously like different circles and like everything's spawned differently, and there's only like so many different circles. So I would do maps of like circles and like do 100 different games and combine it to like see what the probability is, or like once it's like circle number one, you can tell where it's going to end, that type of stuff. And so just doing a lot of public analytical work, and I think that really helped me like get myself really involved in the community and like make a name for myself, and that really like gave me like good backing towards like starting my coaching position at like Space Station. So yeah, I think it's just try to indeed involve yourself in the community as much and kind of find your way, whether it's content or team management, coaching, playing, etc. And then yeah, just be a good person.
Last question. Oh, go ahead.
Just one more thing. At least for me, okay, I'm very much one of you guys. I'm a gamer. I'm this weird, just like nerdy guy growing up. Like, and with that comes like this procrastination personality a little bit. So it's like also when you're trying to get your foot in the door, like once you find who to talk to, like just ask how you can help them. Like if someone just approached me and said, "Hey, like what are you struggling with?" or like what are you trying to tackle? Like let me just like think about that and like how I would approach it. And then like I don't know, just you kind of have to pry it out of us. We're all just gamers like you guys, just kind of like procrastinating, flying by the seat of our pants. So like you really just kind of got to take the initiative and find where you can provide value. A lot of the times it's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. Like that just isn't going to happen. So
Yeah.
One more thing to add to that. Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I was gonna say, yeah, always like as you're talking to people and stuff, always try and learn. I think that's like the huge thing that I've taken advantage of over the years, is just like try and learn as much as you can from like everyone, like anybody you gotta talk to, have like questions written down or like in the back of your mind, like try and learn as much as you can, and I think that will help a lot. But, yeah.
Cool. Last question before we wrap up the panel. Tyler, I loved your take earlier, so definitely want to hear what you think about this. in your mind, what does the future of esports look like?
I think the future of esports is kind of hard to say. Like, I honestly, when I first kind of got introduced to this version of esports, like in late 2019, I think is when I started with SSG. It blew my mind then, how much interest and how much hype there could be around competitive gaming and esports. And just to see where it's come from since then till now is mind blowing. I think in the future, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to kind of separate itself. I think there's going to be brands that do certain esports really, really well and are just household names and continue on kind of the kind of path they're going. There's going to be brands that are just strictly lifestyle and nail that super well, and then there's going to be a handful that get both to a degree and do mainstream gaming lifestyle really well and competitive, and I feel like that's like going to be the best version of it. But I think it's going to just be kind of the similar kind of where it's at now, but just maybe at a bigger scale. And so more people are learning every day about different competitive communities within gaming. Like I'm my mind's blown at how much interest there is in like fighting games, and what the opportunity is there, and how many people just go out of their way to know what's going on in that community. It's bizarre how much attention like Evo and some of those big events are getting. So I can see that just like continue to scale. But you can look overseas to bigger esports markets like EU and APAC and get an idea of where this could go with some of the huge interest that there is in those scenes over there too. So I think NA esports is just gonna continue to grow. I think there's going to be I know if I had the exact answer to the question of like what do esports orgs really look like in 5 years, it'd be really valuable information. But I feel like they're going to figure out ways to monetize, whether it's companies like Optic that have figured out how to leverage their entire brand into paywalled content experiences and merchandising and all that kind of stuff, or very strategic people like us, where we've got our core group of things that we do, games that we support that have revenue opportunities, and just stay happy in that kind of grassroots kind of domain. That's where I'd like to be. But yeah, I think it's just going to continue to scale and be an interesting thing to keep tabs on. But the way it's just going to continue to absorb different things, like esports isn't just competitive, it's also just internet culture, gaming, streaming, all kind of wrapped into one, and that's going to continue to grow like crazy.
Yeah, I think for me, how would I explain this? I come from this weird world of YouTube and influencer. Like, I've always been on the back end editor side for these people and like these daily vloggers and stuff. And that's kind of where I got my start. So I see content a lot of like esports is our personality or whatever. Like, we get to be the persona of Spacestation Gaming. So it's like however we make that brand popular and cool, and we choose to do that through our esports team and our professionals. So I think the future of esports is going to be teams who find out ways how to monetize that opportunity. And for us, I think a lot of it is like through content, and like where we've really found like the success that I see is like we're able to do quick turnaround, like pretty mid to high end production level stuff. And that's where I think Airlock gets a lot of their success, is like having that really good quick turnaround broadcast and like that extra effort and touch into the stuff that we try and put on with them. So I think for us, like that path to success is finding ways to use our voice online to like I don't know, just be a cool brand and like finding cool opportunities to do stuff.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think for what the future is for esports, think like the esports winter is like kind of just a recalibration, if anything. I don't think esports is going anywhere. There's way too much passion behind it, whether it's, looking at fighting games from Evo to the Dota Invitational this past weekend, which is just like insane. And like you can really see like the, fandom and like all the fans in person and stuff. Even Halo, like seeing those people in person and whatnot, like when we're at events and stuff, or like just all of our games, like once we get in person, like you can really just see like all the passion behind it. So yeah, I don't think esports is going anywhere. I think that just like North American esports, at least specifically, is just kind of tried some things with like the paid leagues and whatnot. Tried the sports model. It was just way too quick and like I think like the future is just going to be kind of what we've kind of got going on of like, we've got separate businesses that help generate it. I don't know if it will get to a point of pure profitability in like any time in like within the next like maybe 2 years or something. I don't know when that will happen, but my assumption to what that will be is like I think there will be just change in like broadcasting and like how there's so many different paths they could go, and I think it comes down to there's paths of like developers being insanely invested into it, like Riot, where like they're hands on from like running events to the broadcast to developing the game to game developers aren't known for that, and like they're just super hands on with it. And so they've even gone to like creating Arcane and creating movies, utilizing RP. It could be a route of like they might even create like their own streaming service and have paid wall behind that. Like orgs are involved in that in some capacity. But yeah, I think it's just like, at least for us, I think it's just continuing down the same path of like being close with our community and growing that, and just as time goes on, like it'll become more profitable having the airlocks and the moonwalks of the world, and the 7 other businesses that Space Station has going for it. I think that's like how I see just our success continue on in the future. But yeah, I think esports. I don't think esports is going away like ever, or like at least in like anytime soon at all. I think there's just too much passion, too much love for it from like way too many people. But yeah, I don't know if that answered the question fully, but yeah.
Good enough. All right, that's pretty much the end of our panel. I'll toss it over to you guys if you guys want to give any shout outs, social media shout outs, whatever you guys want to do, and then we'll wrap up.
I don't know. Yeah, you can find me like SSG Pookie on Twitter. Follow you back. There you go.
Yeah. Shopspacestation.com. Just kidding. Just plug merch.
Good, Tyler.
Hey, that's on the live stream now. Perfect. All right. Thank you everyone for coming out to our Esports 101 panel on how to run an esports team. We'll be back in the future with some more panels. Stay tuned to the announcement channel. Bye-bye, everyone.